Today on Network Africa, the protests heat up in Ethiopia. To douse the tension, the government points fingers at neighboring countries for influencing demonstrations. Chancellor Angela Merkel is on a three-nation tour of Africa, beginning in Mali. Plus, Nigeria crosses the first hurdle in the quest for qualification in the 2018 World Cup. Let's begin Network Africa. Hello everyone, I am Amarachi Ubani. Hope you had a great weekend. Let's check in on those stories that made headlines over the weekend.
Ethiopia's Prime Minister Haile Mariam Desalegn has declared a 6-month nationwide state of emergency after months of protest threatening the nation's stability. More than 500 people have been killed in protests since last year, when anger over a development scheme for the capital turned into border anti-government demonstrations over politics and human rights abuses. Opposition parties believe this was just another attempt by the government to close up political space in the Horn of African country.
No, for a fact, the terrorist group OLF has been receiving all kinds of support from Egypt. Its leaders have been feted. I mean, it used to be in Asmara, now they are feted in Cairo. And of course they have been given all kinds of instructions to destabilize this country. And they have been bragging about their capacity to do so. And do so in a manner that is quite condescending, even to the very cause they say they are promoting. Because they are here, according to the Egyptians themselves, the Egyptians who have been very vocal on this, they are here to make sure Ethiopia doesn't have the capacity to continue to build.
The arrest has included attacks on businesses, many of them foreign-owned, including farms growing flowers for export. Then in Congo, attackers with automatic weapons killed at least 8 people in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. 7 of the dead in Beni were civilians and the other a soldier. The army found another body alleged to be one of the attackers, who struck soon before sunset. The United Nations says more than 700 civilians have been killed near Beni since October in 2014, most in overnight raids by rebels carried out with machetes. While in Mozambique, a senior official of Renamo opposition party, Jeremy Spondeka, was shot dead by unidentified gunmen on a Maputo beach. The killing of Pondeka, a member of a joint commission set up to find solutions to the standoff between the government and Renamo, comes days before the commission was due to resume its work. It was not immediately clear if it would do so following the shooting. Pondeka was shot while exercising on a beach on Saturday.
Let's talk about the protests in Ethiopia. Despite a 6-month state of emergency imposed on the country, Ethiopia is now looking at neighbors as influencers of anti-government protests. The country's information minister says groups in Eritrea and Egypt contributed to the unrest witnessed in the past few months, as they're arming and financing opposition groups, but not necessarily with the formal backing of their governments. Violence has intensified since the beginning of this month, when 55 people lost their lives at a religious festival in the Oromo region. The government refuses to take responsibility for the deaths. The accusations against Eritrea, however, did not come as a surprise, because both countries have a long-standing running dispute over borders. Now, as for Egypt, relations are strained over Ethiopia's decision to build a dam on the Nile, one of the river's sources of which flows from Ethiopia to Egypt. The government has promised, though, to investigate recent deaths of protesters. Now, those protests are said to have been carried out by members of the country's 2 largest ethnic groups. But before we dive into the interview, let's take a look at Ethiopia's ethnic makeup. About 34.4% of Ethiopia is made up of the people whom we call the Oromo. Also, Amhara makes up 27%. Then there is the Somali people, who make up 6.2%, the Tigray 6.1%, Sidama 4%, and Guraj 2.5%. Others could be foreigners or people who just made their way to Ethiopia. They occupy 19.8% of the country. The VOA's Solomon Gebremariam joins us from Washington with more on this. Solomon, it's great to have you on the show.
Thank you, Marachi, for having me.
What else have you heard concerning the accusations that the Ethiopian government is making about armed groups coming from neighboring countries, Eritrea and Egypt, to participate in the protests?
Well, the Ethiopian government has been complaining about those activities that have been underway in Eritrea. It has been accusing Eritrea of harboring these armed opposition groups against Eritrea, and the Egyptian government supporting of these violent movements in Ethiopia. It has been there for a long time.
The government still refuses to take responsibility for the deaths that occurred recently, especially the one that happened that Sunday afternoon when the people in the Oromo region gathered for that religious festival. Have there been any moves, however, towards investigations as to what really happened that day?
Well, the government is saying that it is conducting some investigations on the happenings, mishaps, that took place in the outskirts of Addis Ababa, some 50 kilometers away from the capital. But there are no results of those investigations so far. But it said that was the actions of anti-peace forces in the country. And abroad, in fact, usually the government accuses the violent diaspora, extremist diaspora, of inciting such violent activities in the country.
What's the situation back home like now? What have you heard following the imposition of a state of emergency?
The parliament is back from its long recession, its winter recession now. It has been opened today, and it is deliberating on the provisions of this state of emergency that was declared by the Prime Minister yesterday. And the state of emergency is in effect by the Prime Minister as of Saturday, the 8th of October, and it will last for 6 months. So we are expecting to hear from the Parliament because it has started its first day of work today. And under these provisions, the government has put in place several do's and don'ts, among which the preparation and distribution of any literature that are deemed to incite violence are prohibited. And in the areas where the state of emergency would be in effect, in fact, the state of emergency is in effect, or it has been imposed on the entire land, but the Prosecutor General of the country, Getachew Ambaye, suggested that there may be some areas which may not be covered by this state of emergency. And in those areas which would be covered by the state of emergency, the rights to assembly and demonstration and organizations might be stricken off, and some movements may be limited. And the PM in his televised address said that it has been declared because the current situation posed a threat against the people of the country.
Solomon, you've given us an idea of what to look out for the next few days, some do's and don'ts by the government. I guess we'll understand that better as the days go by. But I don't know, is this the first time a state of emergency has been imposed in Ethiopia, especially since the protest began?
Yes, we never saw a state of emergency is imposed in the country for the last 25 years since the EPRDF has come to power. But the opposition leaders, especially, I can quote the chairman of the largest opposition coalition of the country, that is Federal Democratic Unity Forum, is Professor Bayana Petro, said there was no difference, between the state of emergency situation that was declared by the Prime Minister and the situation that has been in place until the declaration of the state of emergency. He he said the country has been always under state of emergency under the rule of EPRDF.
Solomon, thank you so much for your insightful reporting today on the situation in Ethiopia.
You are welcome, Amaraj. Have a good day.
Ghanaians are gearing up for presidential elections later this year. In December, actually, main opposition leader Nana Akufo-Addo has reeled out his manifesto full of criticism for the present government's economic policies. Manifestos are a big deal in Ghana, a country where parties place emphasis on competing policy agenda and ideological differences.
Opposition leader Nana Akufo-Addo launched a blistering attack on the government's economic record as he released his party's manifesto at a mass rally ahead of an election on December the 7th. Akufo-Addo believes President John Mahama squandered the wealth of the country since it began producing oil in 2010 and is out of touch with people who have struggled economically since he came to power in 2012. Manifestos are key to elections in Ghana, a stable democracy where parties place emphasis on competing policy agendas and ideological differences. Mahama is expected to face a tight contest against Akufo-Addo as he stands for a second and final 4-year term. At the event in Accra, senior New Patriotic Party officials outlined policy proposals, and Akufo-Addo focused on what most observers say is his party's strongest suit, exposing the economic problems Ghana has faced since Mahama came to power. In that time, Ghana has lost its reputation as one of Africa's economic stars and inflation. The budget deficit and debt have risen sharply while the cedi currency has lost value.
That is why we need to vote for a change, for a competent leader, a leader that is incorruptible, a leader that will come and turn the country forward, that we Ghanaians will never lack anything.
No job for students, nothing, everything spoiled. So I can assure you that this year election, when you see the people coming here today, I can tell you that MPP will win this year elections.
The country has faced a slump in global prices for its exports of gold and oil. Since 2015, the government has also followed a $918 million aid deal with the International Monetary Fund to restore economic stability. Ghana is also the world's #2 cocoa producer. Mahama launched his party's manifesto last month and says the government has taken tough decisions to tackle the economic crisis.
The election is still about 2 months away in Ghana. December 7th, voters are expected to make a choice from as many as 30 candidates in the race. The Electoral Commission is also set to grant approval to 11 more political parties to add to the already 25 to contest the election. Now, in August, less than half of registered voters verified their names during the 21 days of voters exhibition exercise carried out by the Electoral Commission. Out of the 15.7 million names on the voters register, only 6.69 million voters, representing 43%, verified their names in the exercise that started from July 18th and ended on August 7th. Morocco has become home for many not yet able to make it across the Mediterranean or go back home. According to the United Nations Refugee Agency, the country is currently hosting more than 4,200 refugees, 2/3 from Syria and the rest from sub-Saharan Africa. And in the event the refugees cannot make it back home or across some legal way to Europe, both the UN Refugee Agency and the Moroccan government have recently decided to help refugees better integrate with local communities.
Professional training for those who are young and able to learn a new profession or just a profession after school, and help those who want to launch their own micro enterprise to be able to do so, like a shoe repair shop or hairdressing salon or selling snacks, etc. So help them become self-sufficient.
Still ahead on Network Africa. Well, there must be a mix-up there. The story is about a Nigerian who's helping a certain group of people find love, one couple at a time. Just stay with us.